creating your own path in wellness and entrepreneurship?
First of all, thank you for having me here. It's indeed a pleasure because it is one of my life purposes. I've gone through spiritual leaders, life coaches, guidance from my aunts and everyone else, and I've realized that my life purpose is to bring more women into the workforce. Because more women in the workforce means wealthier families, which leads to healthier families that can actually make our nation prosper. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Now, coming to Apollo's legacy, I think for Apollo to be relevant, their vision has to keep changing. And the vision has changed. Previously, when my grandfather started the business almost 40 years ago, it was about bringing healthcare to India. It was about curative health. That means you get sick and then you come to the hospital. Now the whole vision has changed. The vision is to keep you away from the hospital as much as possible, because if India gets sick, no amount of hospitals will be able to carry the disease burden. So therefore, it's so important for us to prevent getting sick, and that's in your hands. So our whole vision has changed to preventive care and keeping people away from the hospital. And our next focus over time to be relevant and keeping up the legacy is to ensure that, whatever you do with respect to healthcare, you don't have to pay for it. And I think that, that whole exercise is what India is working towards, and each one of us plays a role in it. Adding to that, I just want to ask you a few questions. We've launched this beautiful program called Kavach. I mean, it's amazing. I want to have an honest interaction with you people. I want to ask, how many of you sitting here have health insurance? That's absolutely amazing. And I hope you have it for your parents. I hope you have it for your children. I hope you've added your spouses also. Having health insurance is one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself. And so therefore, that's how the Apollo legacy goes on. And for us, we have to keep changing it. We have to become more, for us to become more valid in today's day and age and more relevant, we need to keep evolving with the times.
Yeah, that's true. We need to change as, when the time changes, we need to move. Now, what are the challenges and privileges of being part of a huge legacy family like, the one you are leading? And when you're launching something of your own, what kind of challenges do you face? Like, any pressures you have, or you just go about?
Oh my God, this is such a funny question. So, I started my own company, and then my aunts and my family members and everyone, and even the great professionals that sit in our offices, they came and said, oh, you started this? Yeah, get money from outside, get funding from outside. So I went and I searched, I went to different bankers, I went to everyone, and I really wanted to prove myself. And I went out there and they said, why? You have so much money now, why do you want to take from us? And I was shocked. I said, I have an idea. You have no respect for my idea or me as a person, but you only respect my identity. So every day of my living and in my work atmosphere is for me to prove that I'm not here because of privilege. It is my worth that you need to value. I went back with this great learning that my family had given me, and I said, I will prove it to you. Within the system, I will create change, I will solve for a purpose and make sure that I make this money within the system and with what I have, and I will grow my business. I'm very proud to say that I've done this for myself. Without outside investment, without my family fully supporting me, which I didn't want them to because it was my challenge. And that's how I carved Your Life. And Your Life for me was not about, making money, which was a byproduct. But what it did for me is it changed my lifestyle. You all have seen me. I've been a fat kid. I had my huge teenage battles, and I also wanted to build self-worth, because as I say it in every interview or every outing of mine, I am here not because of my birth, but because of my worth that I created for myself.
My next question was that, can you tell us more about your Life project, how do you work on it, what is the concept and how did you build it?
So, Your Life was about, giving respect to yourself. I'm going to divert a little, and I wanted to talk about this, it's about empowerment and things like that. So I just came back from London and I met my friends. And so first question I asked them is, hey, how are you? They said, I'm amazing. I said, why, what happened? She said, oopsie, I've fallen in love with myself. I said, what do you mean? She said, no, I've taken time out to fall back in love with myself. Because I said, what does that mean? She's like, I've done the skin treatments, I've done my hair, I've done everything else. I said, oh, but that's external. She said, I've also done a lot of mental stuff for myself, and I am financially secure. So that means she fell in love with herself. Now you see Shalinis of the world, you see people obsessed with themselves. That is one of the most beautiful things that you can do for yourself. When you go back home, ask yourself, or even here while you're sitting, what have you done for yourself? Ask yourself these questions. It's great you all have health insurance. Second is, do you all know how much is in your bank account, how much you're going to inherit, how much you're going to, how much is not your husband's money, how much is your money, how much, you are going to give to your kids? Do you even know all that stuff? Do you have financial security? Do you people know what your goals are, that what you're going to do to make yourself independent? Next question is, have you analyzed your health? Because a health issue can set you back a lot of money. So even with financial insurance, even with health insurance, this can really hit you hard. When was the last health checkup you did? The medical system doesn't want to make money off you. We just want to make sure that you don't, get sick, because then the charges are much higher. So prevention is better than cure, and trust me on this. And these are things that you just fall back in love with. And then I realized my most important thing about Your Life is, I used to think, oh, you have to keep working, you have to keep working. And then I realized that rest is the best respect you can give your body. And that means just chilling and doing nothing. And that nothing means not watching TV, not being on your phone. It means doing absolutely nothing. And unfortunately, I'm not able to do that today because I'm so wired. So I'm in the phase of cleaning up myself and giving myself rest as well. So these are things that I've learned. Your Life is not a company that has just helped me generate wealth, but it's taught me how to rejuvenate, how to tell people the right stuff, and tell them not to follow any video. Don't follow what I do for my health and my weight and my exercise. That works for me. It doesn't mean that it has to work for you. How many of you have a trainer? A personal trainer? Yeah. How many of you have asked them their qualification? But you all ask your doctor your qualification, but you don't have the guts to ask your trainer. How does that work? So, these things are really important and you need to do it. And having qualified trainers, having qualified professionals surrounding you is the most important thing. Your nutritionist, your trainer, your life coach and your psychologist are your most important people around you. So that's what Your Life teaches you, is to make these choices.
Nice. Thank you for that info. With the increasing popularity of health gadgets, do you believe we are truly embracing preventive health care? Or are we becoming too dependent on technology? Where do we draw the line between technology and the personal connection, in your opinion?
Listen, I'm the wrong person to ask this question. My daughter's not even 2 and she's swiping like this. So she's obsessed that blue light is just so addictive. I started wearing an Apple Watch and every few minutes I was checking, what was happening to me. Am I like, eating right thing? It was great. It was giving me information, but I was getting obsessive. So I realized that I have that tendency to keep on checking very often to see, I'm kind of a perfectionist. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but I like to know more and more about myself. So then, I decided that I'm going to keep this at bay. I'm going to do what's important for me, and I'm going to digitally detox when I can, not now.
In our research, we have discovered that Apollo Foundation, which you lead, supports several initiatives for women. We would love to hear a little more about it, especially for women in Vancouver.
So, as I told you, my life purpose is to make women wealthy, because when a woman is wealthy, the whole household becomes healthy. And because she makes the right choices of the ingredients that need to be bought for the family, she also makes the right health choices, and that is from the richest to the poorest. Every woman takes that call for the household. So it's so important, So in that whole gamut of things, a very charming story is that everyone would think, why would Apollo hospitals go and support forests and animals? I mean, why would they think that through? Tata sat me down one day and he said, Pasna, I just want to tell you something, that you've seen COVID. This was in the middle of the pandemic. And he said, if more zoonotic diseases enter the human chain, the medical systems across the world will not be able to tackle this system. So I said, so Tata, what do you do for them? Tell the pharma companies to make more drugs. Isn't that better? He said, no, but you can prevent it by teaching people how to live, the people that live next to the forest, how to respect nature, how to respect the wild animals and not bridge that barrier between the wild and human beings. It's such a small thing. And 4 hours from here, we have Amrabad, which is where the tigers are thriving there. And it's one of the most backward tribal zones of India. So what we decided to do is so that the tigers thrive, so that people don't go into the forest, so that these zoonotic diseases don't spread, we decided to teach the people there to make candles from beeswax. It's such a small thing. I gave them, 50,000 rupees a month for them to survive, which is almost minimum wage. The government is giving them this, but we took those candles and sold it in India Art Fair. And this really empowered them. So these are the small things that we did, but had a huge impact on the medical systems. Because by teaching these people, tying up with WWF, how to respect nature, how not to go into the core of the forest, how not to eat certain foods, how not to touch the water during this time, because that water was meant for the animals and it was contaminated. Teaching them basic hygiene really helped the medical systems. And we've sent this knowledge throughout. So, and I'm happy to share that forest guards from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, if anything happens to them, they get free treatment in Apollo hospitals. This is something very small, but has a huge impact.
So what's one belief you had about success early on that you've completely changed your mind about today?
For me, success previously was about how many millions or billions you make. But right now, success has changed for me. Success equals, I'm not being preachy, but it's actually true. Success equals how many jobs I can create. Success equals how much happiness I get. And 3 is success equals how much time I can take out for myself. Sorry, my aunts, auntie, all of you are here, my mom and aunts can't do that. So according to me, they are not successful. I'm more successful than them because I can take out time for myself And I've made that choice. I have a toddler, and today I'm very proud to say that I know my barriers and I can take up time for myself. They're constantly working.
Now we've seen the wholesome videos of you supporting and promoting your Atama's kitchen alongside your mother-in-law and her mother-in-law. And it's heartwarming and inspiring. How did you first start this whole thing? I mean, it was just, can you just share some anecdotes and something that behind the scenes that you...
I mean, I'm a person that cannot stay without my mother-in-law. I mean, I'm very thankful for her, you know, for adopting me and letting me stay in the house with her and one big family, because I couldn't, I mean, it's easy to manage an empire and run a house, according to me. That's not something I wish for ever. But having said that, I really feel that everyone talks of, I'm going to talk about a small thought of how this came together. We were just sitting and I was thinking about, and I spoke to Bangalore Flow also about this topic. And I said, what is the meaning of women empowerment? Who empowers women? Women empower women. So what does that mean? That means, what would you do? This is just a question in your head. If you realize that your daughter-in-law was smarter than your son, would you let her run the business? Yes. That's amazing. Make it happen in reality. But would you ever agree that your son is not as smart as your daughter-in-law? Yes. That is amazing. I'm waiting for such situations to happen. So, you know, these are things. If the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law of the house have a great relationship, you will see that the family thrives. Yes. You will see that everything, the whole dynamics of the house changes. And that's the beauty of Indian families. And you look at the big Indian families where people have put their trust in. Those families are families that are together, that are thriving. You look at the Ambanis, you look at the Adanis, and every family has their gossip in between, but look at them together. And that's the power of us. And that's the power of Indian families. And that's where wealth lies. True wealth lies.
I was just remembering, like my father-in-law, when he made this whole entire kimbap, he didn't give it to his son, he gave it to me. He said, your daughter-in-law is my daughter-in-law is going to take it over.
And what you did for your mother-in-law was also so sweet. She created a recipe book for
her 70th year. I collected 70 recipes of my mother-in-law and made a book for her. So you mentioned mental health. What role does family play in creating safe emotional spaces for each other? Like, you know how you said, you know, your mother-in-law, your family. So how does that really help you out, you know, to be safe in the emotional, mental stuff? Because nowadays we see so much, you know, moving out, smaller families. And, you know,
this is a very sensitive topic, but my grandfather was very forward-thinking in this, where he told us very clearly that money should not split you. There can be anything else that, you know, can, hamper your relationship, but not money. So he made us write our family constitution. So we had a bunch of advisors come, and they were so painful. They would ask us and trigger us and ask us these painful questions, even to say that, oh, this guy has a bigger house. Are you okay with that? And I was like, how do I care? As long as we can all like be happy together and things like that. But he asked those questions because later in life, those questions and those small things would matter. So I think the success of our family, Touchwood, is that we have great communication, sometimes not with each other, but we have great mediators to mediate that communication. And they don't come cheap, they are very expensive. But and you need to have trust and faith in them. So if you're a family that has problems, don't buy your next bag. Invest in a mediator because that will give you more mental peace than anything else. So that's one. Then the next thing is have respect. If you don't respect your family members, then I don't think that, you know, you should be in a family that loves you because you're not doing good for them. My aunt Sangeeta, she gave me so much respect when I joined the organization. I didn't have work experience, but she respected me for what I brought into the ecosystem. And I absolutely respect her. So having respect is something that is so important. And when I have a problem with her, I use a mediator for communication, but most of the times I'm a very outspoken person. I go and speak to her and sort out our work differences. And the same thing is with my mother, how I behave with my aunts, my mother, and the toughest is my aunt Sunita. She runs all the finances. And it's very tough to deal with these strong women, but we've got our way around it, and it's taught us to be strong. It's taught us to respect them, not as mummy or Pedama or Chinnama, but as professionals. And let me tell you, they are tougher on us than they are on the professionals, and that's how it is. So communication, respect, and compassion, because we all are working towards the same goal. I think these are the things that helps families stay together.
What are some wellness practices you swear by and one you think every Indian household should adopt?
Don't follow mine because mine are very different. I'm planning my second child, so my whole DNA is working only towards that. I don't think most of you are doing that right now. And I'm very happy to have Dr. Uma here. She deals with the stress of me having children. But, what I swear by is that I had the guts to save my eggs in my 20s. I'm 38 now, and I saved my eggs, and Tata made me do that. But I don't know, it's so weird. He said, don't do it in a polo wrap. I said, what? How can you tell me not to do it in a polo? So he sent me abroad to save my eggs. And then I came back now, and then I saved it again in a polo. So that's my biggest insurance policy. And I'm very happy. I mean, Kara happened naturally, but I really believe in the IVF process, because I really feel that, there are so many problems that you can take away from your baby coming into this planet. And it's such a beautiful process that it removes all that stress. To be honest with you, this pregnancy thing I'm very happy that I had a baby when I want. Imagine waiting every month and saying, am I pregnant, am I pregnant, am I pregnant? IVF takes all that out of the box. So I really am pro this, I'm pro technology, I'm pro science, and I love God. So God helps those who help themselves.
Can you share a setback or a difficult moment in your journey and how it shaped you as a leader and an individual?
So I come across multiple setbacks. I get trolled, for being Ramcharan's wife. I get trolled for being wealthy. I get trolled for Apollo charging more, for apparently charging. If you do an analysis, it's actually not true. And I have these setbacks every day. So what is my answer to this? Honestly, I've grown a thick skin. So it really doesn't bother me that much because I am true to myself. And I know that I am following my purpose, my intentions are right, I'm a good person, and of course I'm in love with myself. So nothing can affect me. That comes with a lot of conditioning, after being trolled a lot.
If you talk about the future of healthcare at Harvard India Business Forum, you spoke about India's role in redefining global healthcare. What specific innovations or initiatives do you foresee leading this transformation?
The insurance bill, hands down. IRDA is in Hyderabad, the regulators are in Hyderabad. You will see that insurance will change the way the whole country's health is impacted. Let me tell you, the PMJAY scheme that is run by our Prime Minister is the most efficient. Tell me a country that has managed COVID so beautifully. And obviously all of you know this, but COVID is on the rise, so I think that wherever you go, please wear masks. And it's crazy out there, there are new viruses coming out there. But I'm telling you, the government schemes and the way we are protected in our country is insane. All you people need to do is to know what you're covered under. Tell your house help, tell the elderly, just understand what the government has and what the government can provide for you, and you will be taken care of. The Indian healthcare system is the most phenomenal in the world, and I can very, very proudly say